Hello and welcome to CBJ News. I'm Jack Clark.
And I'm Millie Cyan. Here's your news for this afternoon.
Our top story today. Ofsted are this afternoon facing more controversy after they released a statement regarding the death of the head teacher, Ruth Perry. Our reporter Finley Knowles has the latest. So Finley, what has been happening with Ofsted at the moment?
So after the most recent Ofsted investigations, Caversham Primary's head teacher, Ruth Perry, sadly took her own life at the start of January this year. It has recently come to light that following this, their school has actually been downgraded from outstanding to inadequate.
Has Ofsted commented on this issue at all?
So Ofsted at the moment have said they are not doing any interviews. However, they did actually release a press statement this morning on Twitter from His Majesty's Chief Inspector, Amanda Spillman. This stated that Ruth's death was met with great sadness at Ofsted, and the union have since called to halt inspections entirely. However, the Chief Inspector has disagreed with this, saying that stopping inspections would not be in the children's best interest.
The public have taken to Twitter as well to express their thoughts on this, I've seen.
Yes, so Ofsted have been receiving tweets all day following their statement, and people are in two minds about how the situation should be handled. One user stated that Ofsted is not perfect and there are legitimate debates about how to improve school inspections, but to push for suspending inspections and getting rid of it altogether is a very bad idea. Another user said, I have been through several Ofsted inspections as a governor, chair of governors and staff member. I can also remember the pre-Ofsted HMI/LEA system. What I want to know is why Ofsted did not accept a duty of care towards this head when they hadn't inspected for 13 years.
Have any other teachers been commenting about Ofsted as a whole and the pressure they face?
Yes, so I spoke to some teachers this morning about the stress they felt when Ofsted actually came to inspect the school, so I think we should hear from them.
Having, all of that weight of every teacher in your school and your whole school, that is just such a massive amount of stress. And Ofsted come in on one day and they just get a snippet, so that doesn't really get a feel for the day-to-day running of a school.
When you're in the Ofsted window, it does put a massive amount of pressure on the staff and on the school and everybody fighting to do stuff, and yet there aren't enough hours in a day to do that, and it's not possible, and that does affect people's well-being.
Overall, the situation for Ofsted is still unknown, and no one is sure what the future holds for them. But as of now, we are aware that schools are planning to refuse inspections. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks for that, Finn. Well, the government have announced plans to offer 30 hours of free childcare in order to support working parents. Many are pleased with the new budget announcement. However, nursery staff are showing their concerns of the pressure that it's going to put on nursery workers. Lily Moran reports.
Parents can feel rest assured after the government announced last week that they'll be providing 30 hours of free childcare for children aged 1 to 2 in a bid to help working parents.
Hazeman, I'm a single mum from Nottingham, so having this extra 30 hours childcare free a week is going to be really beneficial for me. I'm constantly worrying about what I'm going to do with my child. Currently, I work full time. I work around 8 till 6. So I have to rely a lot on mothers and grandparents to look after my child. Also, I put her in nursery. So with the cost of living and the increase of everything that's happening at the minute, this is going to be really great, not only for me, but for all parents in England.
Yeah, it would be great, more hours for the kids. Working mums, they do 12.5-hour shifts a day. And and actually kids like childcare, you need 40 hours a week.
My 3-year-old at the minute is just getting funding, so if they had the funding at the beginning, it would be easy for me to go back to work. So when my baby, who's 4 months now, when she's 2, I'll be able to go back to work easier.
I don't agree with it because they're not putting the money into it to help some of the women who are working in the industry. They need to put the money in first before they offer the hours.
But is it proving too much for nursery workers who are already feeling the extra pressure of an increased demand?
It's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of nurseries. I think you'll get a lot of poor quality providers set up very, very quickly because they see this as a quick money making opportunity. I don't think it recognises the work that people have done for a long time, and I think me as a nursery owner, I'm trying to think about how I pull staffing and how I train people without having a budget to do so right now. If I've got to get, I don't know, if we assume that we're going to be full next year, I would need 16 staff trained to work from this premises. We're currently struggling to just cover, 10 staff vacancies. We are losing staff by the day to, I don't know, Morrison's, Marks and Spencer is not being thought about, it's not being dealt with, and it's just a case of, okay, well, this is what we're going to offer the nation in terms of it's a vote winner, it's something that kind of, businesses can think, oh, maybe I will have staff because, the moms will come back into work, but it's not going to be funded properly now.
Lily Moram, CBJ News.
40% of the UK's food goes to waste each year. And if that food was given to those who need it, the eco-experts believe that it would feed undernourished people 10 meals per day. CBJ's Charlotte Pearce-Gregory has more.
The issue of food waste is only getting worse each year, with it being estimated that 33% of food that is produced each year goes to waste. I'm here at FareShare finding out what they're doing to try and solve the problem.
FareShare Midlands is the region's largest food redistribution charity that takes surplus food from the industry and gets it to frontline charities, reaching more than 60,000 vulnerable people every week. But at the minute they are struggling to meet the demand because of food shortages and the cost of living crisis.
Recently we've noticed a significant drop in the amount of food we're getting delivered to us due to our main source of food coming from our food partners like suppliers and supermarkets and manufacturers being due to overproduction. We've noticed there hasn't been much overproduction due to the cost of living crisis.
This week they got shortlisted for an award on the meal production programme they have in partnership with Nottingham City Council, and Imogen Davey believes that as well as the programme stopping people from going hungry, it also brings social benefits too.
So what we do is we cook it into meals and meal components, so it might be soups and stews, sauces, desserts, all sort of stuff like that, and then we freeze it into portions of 10, and then that food goes out to the groups. And they use it obviously to fight hunger, but also to combat things like loneliness and isolation.
More needs to be done to stop the amount of food that gets wasted in the UK, and many hospitality businesses are becoming more mindful about reducing food wastage. Slim Chickens are one of many businesses that started to use the app Too Good To Go, which allows them to sell unsold food at a cheaper price rather than it getting thrown in the bin.
I think it's good to use the Too Good To Go app just because number one, it helps us get rid of waste in a better way than just sort of throwing it in the bin. It also helps people in the local area get a meal for cheaper than usual. I think £4 is really good value and you're going to get triple the value back.
So rather than ordering too much food and it going to waste, individuals should consider being more cautious to help to combat this issue. Charlotte Pearce-Gregory, CBJ News, Nottingham.
UK supermarkets are having to ration items of fresh produce. This is down to cold temperatures and floods. Farmers are also feeling the effects, but for a different reason. Hannah Feldman reports.
You may have noticed a vegetable shortage. The UK's government have said it's largely down to bad weather in Europe and Africa. In the winter months, the UK imports around 95% of its tomatoes and around 90% of its lettuces. These are mostly imported from Spain and North Africa. Spain have been suffering from unusually cold weather and Morocco have been affected by floods. Whilst this may have an effect on consumers, a local farm shop is feeling very vulnerable.
It's that the continent pays more money than what our supermarkets does. So they get first preference. It's a shame the government can't step in and stop this unfair sort of trading, really. Yeah, it just makes it hard for the independent traders like us.
Whereas one of the UK's largest leading supermarkets, such as Tesco, are limiting customers to 3 items on certain products. These include cucumbers, tomatoes and peppers. But is everyone noticing the slight changes to their food shops?
So I can't really say that I've noticed a vegetable shortage or that one has actually affected me because I shop monthly. So like I bought vegetables etc. like in the end of February and now we're at the end of March. So if there's been a shortage during that period, I've not noticed it. And then I guess the time I shopped like later in the day. So for me, I just took notice that maybe what happened was that everybody shopped before me. But I will say that one of the staff members, when I asked for tomatoes, they did say that there was a tomato shortage. So there is one, I'm guessing, but I can't say it really affected me.
I'm Hannah Furman, and this is CBJ News.
NTU's newest foray into sustainability is springing up this week in the form of a dye garden. CBJ's Miranda Spencer-Pearson has more.
I'm here at the Waverley building at NTU City Campus, where the Garden for Sustainable Dyes has been planted this week. This project has been in the works for 10 years, but in September, a group of technicians from the Art and Design Department finally made their proposal and began work on the site.
We've had lots and lots of discussions, technicians and students, about the need and the desire to build it. So trying to get students to understand that there's a different way of maybe dyeing their fabrics and using natural resources to do that, which is what we always used to do before the chemicals came in. So it's thinking about sustainability, thinking about well-being. Also, we've had our sustainability team involved, so they've gone through our plant list to make sure that we've got native species that are pollinators and wildlife friendly, and they're supporting us because they want to use the garden in a bid to get the Green Flag Award for the Nottingham City Campus.
Many departments hope to use the garden once it's grown. Print technician Theodora Prasser believes that education is where change begins and is passionate about using the garden to create eco-friendly ink to use in the printing department.
I'm trying to develop recipes here in the print room to be more sustainable ourselves with eco-printing. So creating dyes, and then from the extraction of the dye from the plants to create a paste and then use it for screen printing.
David Hurst from NTU's Dye Lab wants to use the garden to shine a light on the discrepancies between mainstream manufactured dyes in the industry and more sustainable sources.
You know, it's more to start a conversation, I think, and just to make it more visible, to make people aware of it, to make people aware that we are sustainable and we're thinking about it, and also support students in their practice and thoughts as well, because that's the way the students seem to be going.
It may only be small at the moment, but the group have big dreams for their seedlings.
There's a possibility that we might have some space at Brackenhurst. So if we did want to grow big, large scale, field size, there's a possibility that we could do that as well.
Miranda Spencer-Pearson, CBJ News.
Now for sport, let's get the latest with Kate Strong.
Thanks, Millie. This week, Nottingham Forest have made a shocking offer to replace manager Steve Cooper. Spanish manager Marcelino Garcia Toral has turned down an offer to take immediate charge of the Reds. Title-chasing Notts County will be facing Scunthorpe tomorrow at Meadow Lane. They will be hoping to keep the pressure on top of table Wrexham. The World Figure Skating Championships are underway in Japan. GB's duo Lewis Gibson and Lila Fear hope to become the first pair to win a medal in the competition since Torvill and Dean 39 years ago. They will perform their Latin-inspired dance this afternoon.
Thanks, Kate. Wow, it's clearly been a busy day in sports, huh, Millie?
Yeah, and it's going to be a very busy weekend too. Are you keeping up with any sports this weekend?
Unfortunately, I'll be keeping up with Spurs.
Oh, gosh.
Well, now to Lizzie for the weather.
Thank you, guys. The weather today has been all over the place, but tonight it should stay relatively calm with long, clear spells and some wind. We're expecting highs of 11 degrees and lows of 3 degrees. Looking into the weekend, you can expect rain, and a bit more rain with a little bit of wind. There'll be highs of 13 degrees, but on Sunday there could be a low of -2. Back to you in the studio.
Well, that's all for your news today, and time for us to say our last goodbye to CBJ News.
From all of us in the class of 2023, thank you for joining us over the last 3 years.
You can keep up to date with CBJ News across social media, everywhere at CBJ News, or you can visit our website cbjspotlight.co.uk.
It's not a goodbye, it's a see you soon.